Phil.
So
We're in
are
business.
we in touch now?
We are in business.
Okay. All right.
Mano,
Great. Well, pleased to meet you finally.
Mano Thanus. How are
Yeah.
you?
Oh, I'm very good. So I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, you in California, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and tell me, how long have you guys been in California?
I've been here for some time. I came here in the mid 80s.
Mid 80s. And
Yeah, a long time ago. I know.
you obviously went for work,
No,
right?
no, no. My story is quite an interesting one. Unless you want to hear it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please, tell us, tell us. That's
Oh
what
no. Look.
we're all about.
As you know, I grew up during apartheid, and from a young age, I made the decision that I was not going to be, living in South Africa. I was not going to live under apartheid. And I always swore that when I finished my schooling, I would leave the country. And that is exactly what I did. When I finished art school after high school, I then left. And I went to the USA. And that's how I ended up here. And various ways of, I had to apply for political asylum, etc. This was during the 80s, the mid 80s,
Hmm.
and that's how I got to the United States.
So hold up, you actually applied for political asylum in the 80s. What was that like?
Yeah, it was rather hard, but this was the time of Reagan, when Reagan was the president,
Hmm.
and but I was applying for political asylum because I refused to fight for the apartheid army. I
Hmm.
refused to fight for the apartheid government.
So,
You
so
know,
what you're saying is you are on the other side of the spectrum where now you've got Afrikaners applying for asylum.
yeah. Well, no, but
You,
it's a different situation. They may be applying for asylum, but and I mean, are they really repressed? Come on. But in my case, I had to go to the fight for the apartheid army, for the SADF, and there was no way in hell I was going to go fight for the apartheid army or for apartheid,
was
or for the
this
National Party government.
was this
There
the
was no way
Angola,
I was ever going to do that.
was this the Angola border war when South
Yeah, yeah,
Africa?
this was the well, they called it the border war. Angola wasn't our border. Our border was Namibia. Back then it was South Africa, but they called it a border war. It was all propaganda. You know, I was never gonna do that. I was never gonna go fight for apartheid. I was never gonna fight. I was never gonna go to the SADF. I knew that from when I was 10 years old. When I first found out, the reality of what apartheid was, what kind of system we were living under. And I mean, I was politicized at a very young age, you might say, and it's a good thing. There's many white South Africans who grew up during that time who actually never really found out, or found out maybe too late, or never really cared, or were apathetic. But I wasn't one of those. I am,
I
you
think
know, I'm,
I think as far as
yeah.
most South Africans are concerned, apartheid wasn't a great system. It wasn't. It should have never been. And I think
Well, it should have never been, but I mean, I mean, I'm sure today, you're gonna struggle to find anybody that will be honest and openly tell you that they supported apartheid, that they supported the National Party government. Um, Good luck. It's just as hard going to Russia, trying to find anybody that will say that they supported the communist system. But when I was growing up, and growing up in Germiston during the time of apartheid, during the rigid apartheid, which I would say was the 60s and 70s,
Hmm.
you know, there were many people that supported apartheid, and I'm not just talking about Afrikaners. I had schoolmates, or they weren't my mates, but they were, in the same class as me or school at Germiston High School, and who openly supported the apartheid system. I remember during the 1976 uprising, which I will never ever forget. It's seared into my brain, because I was 16 at the time, and there were kids even in my class who were celebrating the fact that the police were killing, school children in Soweto. And these were English South Africans, not Afrikaner South Africans, English South Africans who openly supported apartheid. What do you expect from barbarians? I mean, look, this is the kind of South Africa that I grew up in. It all depends, because there were other kids who grew up in South Africa who grew up, in a different part of the country, and I've met people who lived in Cape Town who never experienced apartheid in its rawness, But me growing up in the East Rand in Germiston, apartheid was very strong. Germiston was a very strong National Party town, and there was police everywhere. There was, well, we also lived near a police station, The overwhelming image of my childhood, it's a very sad one, because for me, the overwhelming image of my childhood are those police vans, those police trucks with a little cage in the back, and then the black hands holding the windows there, the bars, getting arrested for pass offenses.
I'm very sorry that you had to experience.
I did not have. Let's just say that I wasn't a very happy. There's an expression we use here in California. Wasn't a very happy camper, And growing up in apartheid, I couldn't wait to leave. To be honest, I was unhappy. Growing up in South Africa at that time, and the vision that I had for South Africa was one that came to pass many years later, but it wasn't like for instance when I was in high school, I remember playing rugby. I remember asking my coach, this doesn't really make any sense. Why do we have to go an hour away to play a school in Johannesburg North when there's an Afrikaans school not more than a few kilometers from Germiston High, and we never play them? And he's like, oh, no, we don't play the Afrikaans schools. So, I grew up in a very, very divided society, and I can tell you that sense of growing up in such a divided society made me, say to myself, one day, I'm going to do everything that I can possibly do to unite South Africans,
Okay.
And that's what I do. That's what I do in the United States.
And that's why I got you on the show. Now I want to unpack that a little bit, but I want to come back to this topic because there's been a 40-year gap since you left South Africa where the tables have turned and people are angry. And most people that are suffering now are people who weren't actually part of apartheid. They were either small children at the time or they were born afterwards, and now they need to suffer because of their forefathers, so to speak. But it's well in the government's power to make things better, but there's too much corruption, it's too much division, and what happens at the end of the day, the hardworking folk, the only tax-paying folk, are suffering, and therefore there's now a system in place where they can get out, and I'm in support of that system, but in no way I deny the fact that people back in the 80s were suffering under a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, well, it's not the same analogy, not the same analogy, but I support people who want to come to the United States. I really do. I support South Africans who want to come here. It doesn't really bother me, under what circumstances, if they say that they're fleeing or whatever, I mean, it's okay. Yes, some people, may have, had bad experience. Maybe some people were really on a farm and they experienced the kind of crime that happens. I don't think that most of the people that are coming here are those. I think there's a lot of people that maybe were never able to come to the United States for various reasons, and this is an opportunity for them to come. And I think that's great. I don't begrudge them at all. I welcome them here. I welcome them openly here. And look, my biggest problem with the whole thing is that, I don't think that most of the people that are here that are coming here maybe were never able to come to the United States for various reasons, and this is an opportunity for them to come. And I think that's great. I welcome them here. I welcome them openly here. And look, my biggest problem with the whole thing is that, look, my biggest problem with the whole thing is that you know, Trump is, listen, he likes white immigrants. Let us be, you know, straight about it. He likes white conservative immigrants, and that's fine. You know, but I mean, he shouldn't have been so obviously racist about it. He should have said, if you are a South African and you are conservative and you do not support the present government of your country, which is the government of national unity, which is essentially a coalition between the ANC and the DA. If you do not support this government, then you are welcome to come here, no matter what race you are, you know. But it should not have been only for white Afrikaners. But that's just my own opinion.
I think he did change the wording around that, and it was minority groups.
Mm.
And I believe there was some colored folk in between the first batch of Afrikaners or South Africans that arrived across. Apologies. But yeah, yes, I do agree, and just in some extent, I think because the evidence that was presented to him was the actual farm murders and photos of the farm murders, videos of the ANC or Malema and EFF ANC Youth League back then. I think is when it started,
Yeah,
wanting to kill the farmers.
yeah. I mean, like they always put the video of Malema. I mean, who cares about Malema? Malema is almost insignificant now in South African politics. He is the leader of a third of what is it? The third most popular party, the fourth most popular party. I mean, he's losing support daily.
He is
You know,
psyching 100,000
and
people
and
at once.
and giving him attention is the complete wrong way of going about things. You don't give Malema attention.
No,
Why do you think
you're
he
right.
does these things? Why do you think he does them? He does them because he knows he's going to get attention.
Yeah, that's true. But
Right?
all right,
If, if, if
let's
if
not
you
give
don't
him.
give him attention, if you don't feed the fire oxygen, you know, I mean, come on, it's obvious. It's obvious.
You are right. Now let's shift the attention from Lema because he doesn't deserve it. I want to talk about you. You bring South Africans together, and up until recently, you were the admin of the largest group of South Africans in the United States in the world. You had how many
Well,
members?
no, I wouldn't say the world.
I
I don't
think,
know.
I think,
Uh,
mate, as far as Facebook is concerned, you had the biggest
Facebook, yeah.
community. You had the biggest community.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, look, I had an unfortunate situation with Facebook. My account was shut down. I have since found out why it was shut down. Facebook bots have been shutting down accounts that they think are fake, and my account wasn't fake, but there was apparently 3 or 4 different accounts with my name.
But you were very
Two
popular.
of them are in Russian. Two
You
of
were
them are
very,
in Russian. Yeah.
you were very
So
popular.
so so what happened was, yeah. I mean, look, if you're a popular person, you know, there will be scammers, who open accounts in your name, etc. And so I guess that the Facebook bots, they saw a lot of activity under my name, under the one account, and they just assumed that this was a fake account, because
Now,
there was a lot of activity, a
I need,
lot of
I need
sharing of posts.
I need to ask though, you were very outspoken against Trump pre-election and post. Do you think that had anything to do with
I
it?
don't think it had anything to do with politics. I mean, now that I know the circumstances of how my account how it was shut down. It was shut down because the bots, um, thought it was a fake account.
All right.
You know,
You,
when my account was shut down, I had to prove my identity. I had to do a selfie. And all of these things, and I did them.
yeah. Now,
But
you still run a few events where you get South Africans together in outdoor picnic areas, Boerewors days, and those sorts of things. How's that going for you?
well, that's great. I wanted to do before Facebook, before there was such a thing as Facebook. I had a restaurant, so I would meet South Africans, and I always thought, one day I would love to make a South African club
Mhm.
that really represents South Africans, that's not just a white club, because at the time there was a club in the Bay Area that was called a Springbok Club, but it was mainly just white South Africans,
Mm.
And I certainly didn't leave apartheid South Africa to be back in apartheid, to go to go to Braai and be nearly all white South Africans, Now that's not my deal, And so I said, well, one day I'm going to do it. I'm going to make my own club that's going to represent all South Africans, And then when Facebook came about, and when Facebook added events, and when you were able to invite people to an event, then I realized, wow, this is it. I set up a group called Bay Area South Africans, and it was great. Our first meeting, our first braai was fantastic. And we've had many many braais. Who knows? I don't know. I've lost count how many brides that we've had since then. This was 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Mm.
Yeah. And, the group went really great. And then I thought to myself, you know what? Because at the time, there wasn't nationally, if you looked up any kind of South African group nationally, it was mainly just advertising,
Mm.
And I thought, this is dumb, I'm going to create a group that is going to be mainly about content. I'm going to make it a very, very interesting group, and very entertaining and very informative. And that's the formula that I used. I set up the group South Africans in the United States. And yeah, the formula worked. The group just took off from day one. And now, 12 years hence, it's at 70,000 members. I don't know if it's one of the largest South African groups in the world on Facebook, but
No,
it
no,
may be,
no. Sorry. The largest US by South
In the
Africa.
United States, yes,
Yeah,
yes, it's the largest.
that's what I
It's the
meant.
largest Facebook group for South Africans in the United States, and I would say probably in both North and South America. I think you can safely say that it's the biggest South African Facebook group for people in the Americas. Yeah, in the Americas.
Yeah, we've got a 80,000 member one, and our South Africans on there are
Great.
only abroad. But I
Yes.
think the Australia is our top member list, and then obviously the UK. UK I found really really hungry for community and connecting with people, and I think it's got a lot
Yeah.
to do with just how little outdoor activities there are, especially due to the cold weather and those sorts of things. So people
Well, yes,
they
that
reach
is a
out to each
problem.
other.
Outdoor activities are, yeah. But in the winter, we hold events in restaurants.
Hmm.
We have get-togethers. We do many things, to get the South African community together,
Hmm. You know,
and people really do. People
I,
really do appreciate it.
I think Oorsee was banned of the United States group. I haven't actually posted much in the last couple of months. I think I did the odd video, and
Yeah.
I think that new admin there, which is not you, banned.
Yes, certainly.
Yeah,
It's okay. You know, things are going to get straightened out. And I will return as admin. And then we will fix that up.
that'll be
Don't worry
great.
about it.
I'm not too
Yeah.
stressed about it. Oorsee has enough momentum now, and it's climbing steadily on its own. The YouTube channel are doing great, thanks to great chats like yourself. Mano, I'm gonna have to end off
Yes.
the call, but listen, I want to just say a few things. You are a unique individual. You have the personality that connects people and gives them the opportunity to socialize abroad. We need more
Thank
people
you.
like that in other countries. Yes, you're very outspoken, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's an honesty that a lot of people appreciate. And yes, honesty like that can possibly get you in trouble at times, but I can just see you're passionate for South Africa. You're passionate for the people of South Africa. And when I look at your event,
Yes.
when I look at the photos that you post of the pictures
Yes.
and brides and stuff that you hold, it's not a full white venue. It's not a full black venue.
No.
It's a nice
No.
mix
It
of
looks like the
people.
country.
It's a
Yeah.
mixed bunch of people. They're happy. They're
And
celebrating.
they're happy. Yeah.
That is South Africa abroad. I love it, and
Yeah.
I will
Well,
keep.
all I can say is that it doesn't take much to bring about change in the world. It really doesn't.
Hmm.
But it does take one individual to do it. You
That is
know, I decided to, I'll use the American expression, step up to the plate. I decided to do something about this. I decided that I was going to do something to unite South Africans in the San Francisco Bay Area, and then I decided that I was going to do something to unite South Africans in the whole country. But that was my decision. And most people are happy about that. However, I have a few people that don't like me, and they don't like me maybe because of the fact that what I'm trying to do, you know.
You just keep doing what you're doing. And thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for all the work, time, effort, and money you've put in bringing South Africans together in the United States. And yeah, I would want to say reach out to those freshly landed Afrikaners and
I certainly will, and
invite them over. Let them see the South Africa that you dream of. The whole mixed bunch of people just enjoying humanity.
yes, I'm all about unity,
Mm.
and so I welcome them to the United States, and I welcome them to join my group, and I would love them to come to any of our events, but they're not obviously in the Bay Area. They are mostly in the conservative states, but they should attend Bryce in those places, and they should meet other South Africans that
They
are
will.
not people that they just hang with. They should try to communicate with South Africans that they've never really attempted to communicate with before.
They will. Mano, you were great. Thank you so much.
Very good.
I
Thank
will
you so
get
much.
I will get this on there, and yeah, I really appreciate your time.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.